Hi, it's me, Joyce, just talking, just singing. Today I'm going to tell you a story about a trip I took to Washington, D.C. with my family back in 1965. We lived in Ottawa at the time, and my uncle Hector, my uncle Sarto Laviolette, worked at the Iranian embassy in Washington, D.C., and he invited all of us to go down there and stay with him for a while for a short vacation. Now, I don't know exactly what his job was there. I know he had an apartment in the embassy where we stayed with him, but it was really quite interesting because I remember photos of him dressed, as a waiter with his, the cloth over his arm, and I know he used to serve at the big banquets in Washington and certainly at the embassy. But he lived there, so he was like kind of a caretaker, kind of jack of all trades kind of guy. I don't know. I was only 10, so my memory. I don't know what Uncle Sarto did, but Uncle Hector, because he was also a very good cook, very good chef, very talented man. So I'm sure they were able to use his skills in many, many ways. So anyway, um, we got in the car. My grandmother, my grandfather, Pere Laviolette, this was his brother, and my mom and dad, and my brother, and of course me. We all piled into the car. My brother in the front with my mom and dad, me in the back with my grandparents, and we took off for that road trip to Washington, D.C., across the suspension bridge, which was so beautiful for me. That was my I think my favorite part of the trip was over the water. Of course, it wasn't too pleasant back in the 60s to drive in a car with my mother and grandmother, especially because they had their hair all done up, and they didn't want to have a bad hair day. They had a lot of hairspray and everything. So all the windows were shut closed in the hot summer. And of course, they all smoked. So the air was completely smoky, and there were only those little tiny triangular shaped windows. If anyone remembers those little windows you rolled up and down, and that was the only amount of air we were allowed to have in the car, so it was very unpleasant, and car sickness was not beyond me. So anyway, we got to Washington, and we got there, and Uncle Hector greeted us, and he says, before he said we get settled in the apartment, I want to show you something. So he took us into the private quarters of the Shah and Empress of Iran. They had been there for an official visit that week, and they had just left. I don't know if it was the day before or a couple of days before, but everything was still in disarray in the chamber. Of course, this is the Shah and the Empress Farah, and she was just such a beauty, such a beauty. And I do understand, like I have these romantic ideas about the Shah and Empress, but I do know the regime was not very pleasant for the people there. But um, they were. It was more Western than it is now. Let's just put it that way. So it was easy for me to relate to them in that way. So anyway, we walked into the private chambers, and it was absolutely beautiful. Even though it was in a big mess, they had the cupboards were all flung open. These big cupboards, and I say cupboards, big cupboards with shelves, for the clothing and all the racks, and there was a beautiful bed in there, and it hadn't been made. Of course, it was still rumpled from when they had left. Whatever morning it had been that week. And I went, oh my gosh. And I jumped on the bed, and I started hopping up and down on it. Wow. I got to jump and sit and bounce on the Shah and Empress's bed. For me, this is a big kick. I'm 10 years old. I love princes and princesses and fairy tales and the Arabian Nights and Cinderella and Snow White and everything else. And of course, this was a big thrill for me. Anyway, so that was the part, and of course we were able to go and look at all the antiquities. That were they had all kinds of beautiful glass cases with all these Persian antiquities in it, and I left there with a couple of beautiful books. My uncle gave me, like, daytimer books, really, calendars with the pictures in it and stuff like that, that I could have of all the beautiful archaeological points of interest in Iran. So that was quite something for me because I was really interested in archaeology when I was 10. Okay, so that was a beautiful side of my trip there in the embassy. But further to that, we did get to go out to Washington, of course, and we were there to tour around and pardon pardon me, um, and to do our little tourist thing. And I just want to make a point because it really ties into what's going on today in this world. Uh, my grandmother looked. She says, "Look, look," you know, and we saw a black lady with really yellowy blonde hair, and now that doesn't sound very peculiar now, but for us coming from Ottawa, which is a pretty conservative town, and I say town rather than city because Ottawa's a government town, not a very exciting place. Not a lot of diversity at that time in Ottawa in 65, although we did have a lot of people from different cultures living there, of course. But we had never seen a black lady with blonde hair, especially that yellow blonde hair. It was kind of a shock. It was unusual for us, kind of weird, We thought, oh, it just doesn't go together. But, is it weird? Really? It's not weird. Not weird at all. Because if a person wants to have blonde hair and they're black, that's great. Or red hair, or someone white wants to wear dreads, or somebody wants to wear a sari, or somebody else, wants to, whatever. A lot of people like to wear the Indian clothes, the really loose pants, the yoga pants, and all that kind of stuff. Or there's just a lot of different things that people like to enjoy from other cultures, even if it's a French roll or French bob. We call them French bobs. Are we not? Or the Italian bob, or you see a lot of things on YouTube: how to dress like an Italian, how to dress like a French person, how to dress like this and that and the other. And yet, we have this stigma around cultural appropriation. Now, cultural appropriation is only bad when we're mocking another culture. We're hurting somebody, making fun of them by, blackface. Obviously, that's a bad kind of cultural appropriation, right? That's not good. But if somebody decides they want to twist their hair into little dreadlocks, or wear tight little braids on their hair, or likes to wear, I don't know, whatever kind of clothing they want to wear, however people want to express themselves, that is their business, how they express themselves. It's not a matter of cultural appropriation. It's a matter of celebrating. It's celebration rather than appropriation. And I think that's a really important thing we need to understand. For instance, I have a Tibetan doctor, and she wanted to treat me, and it was wonderful. I went with her and 500 Tibetans on buses to Ottawa when the Dalai Lama was here several years ago. We went for a private audience. I was the only European woman. There were lots of Canadians there because we know Canadians are from all different cultures, races, creeds, whatever. It doesn't matter. We're all here in Canada living, and we all have our own space. But I was the only European lady there. And I was dressed in a chuppah. And Karma put me in this chuppah, my doctor, and I loved it. It's absolutely beautiful. And I felt so. She says, "Now today you're Tibetan," and it was beautiful. I became part of the culture. And even when I went to sing at the Tibetan Cultural Center with Chris Burkett, as a matter of fact, we got there, we're all dressed up in our our entertainment duds, and she came up to us. No. Come here, have something. And she put us into these beautiful Tibetan. I had the chuppah, and Chris had a beautiful outfit on with the cape, and he looked wonderful. We both looked great up there singing for the Tibetan people in their traditional costumes. Did anyone complain? Did they call it cultural appropriation? Are you kidding? They were absolutely happy to see us there. And even to this day, they say, remember you came to the Tibetan Cultural Center and you performed and you wore our clothes. This is beautiful. This is a beautiful thing. We have to stop making such a big deal about it. If you're mocking someone, not good. Same thing with this talked about before, this race-color theory or color race theory. It's a theory. Remember, it's a theory. Somebody thought this up. I don't think it's a very good theory. There are lots of black people out there, lots of Caucasian people out there, lots of people of various colors of, cream to brown, various Asiatic peoples, all from different countries, and creeds and traditions. How can we lump a person because they got black skin or white skin or if they're Asian or whatever into one group and say they're all the same? And because they're black, this is gonna be this way. Because they're white, this is gonna be that way. It's not gonna be. That's not true. We've got to stop that. Maybe I'm 66 and maybe I'm ridiculous. We say, oh no, you don't understand. You're not in our shoes. You're white. You have privilege. I don't have so much privilege. I've had it rough in my life for a white person, for any person. I say for a white person. Well, I have to say that because no one would believe it. I've had to fight for everything I have. I've had to work for everything I have, and believe me, I don't have a whole lot. And live simply. Hey, this beautiful little cabinet here, I picked up off the street and I painted it. It was wood. It's still wood, but it's painted wood. But I made this dress out of 2 scarves. You become inventive. But the point is, I'm getting off track here, which I often do. The point is, we have to make our own luck. We have to make our own success. We're not the way we were 100 years ago, or even 50 years, or even 20 years ago. Things have changed for the better. I think more for the better than for the worse. We cannot cycle back to a time that does not exist anymore. Okay? We can't make something that isn't so. Probably going to get into a lot of trouble with this. People say, well, you don't understand. Yes, there is racism. Yes, there is. Of course there's racism. There's always been racism. And it's going to go on for a long time yet. Okay? And different groups of people are going to experience prejudice and bigotry. I'm Jewish. That anti-Semitism's on the rise. You want me to talk about that? Not going to. But it's on the rise again. We're vigilant. We're watching. We're being careful. But that's what I'm saying. So if somebody wants to wear whatever they want to wear, that's fine. Anyway, I always sing a song. So, and today, actually, my gosh, I'm going to be singing a song from a Broadway musical, which actually some people probably thought was pretty racist, called Kismet. So was Flower Drum Song, but I really like the songs from both these musicals. So what can I tell you? I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. So I'm just looking for the lyrics because you know how I often mess up the lyrics? Boy, do I. Even for simple things. Here we go. This is Baubles, Bangles, and Beads. I like this song. It's beautiful. I like the Peggy Lee version a lot. I'm not a person who uses a lot of vocal acrobatics. You can ask Chris Burkett that. I sing songs pretty straight. So, I'm hoping I can see. Okay, I can see this without my glasses. I don't want to put my glasses on because I lost both arms on them. I gotta. This is kind of what's left of my glasses. See, that's not good. Anyway, here we go. This is Baubles, Bangles, and Beads. I like this song. Okay. Baubles, bangles, hear how they jing-a-ling-a. Baubles, bangles, bright shiny beads, sparkles, spangles, my heart will sing-a-ling-a, wearing baubles, bangles and beads, I'll glitter and gleam so, make somebody dream, so that someday he may buy me a ring-a-ling-a. I've heard that's where it leads, wearing baubles, bangles and beads. I'll glitter and gleam so, make somebody dream, so that someday he may buy me a ring, ring-a-ling-a. I've heard that's where it leads when you wear bubbles, bangles, and beads. I think I got the melody a little messed up there, but hey, that was Baubles, Bangles, and Beads, and that's kind of cool. Anyway, until next time, wishing you well. Have a wonderful week and enjoy yourself. Wear the clothes you want to wear. Do your hair the way you want to wear your hair. Wear the jewelry you want to wear. Don't mock anybody. Just walk your talk. Be you. Just be you. That's all I'm asking. Just be you. Don't worry about being anyone else. Just be you. And who knows? Maybe the answer to everything really is 42. So until next time, have a great week.